I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So we are returning to Mosiah. The last thing we read in Mosiah was the death of Abinadi and the flight of Alma and his people. After Alma had been preaching in secret, 450 people chased out of the land by Noah. And then, of course, we had the Lamanites invade. Noah himself is burned alive, and the people are put under oppression by the Lamanites, put into bondage. We also read a little bit in Amulon about what was going on in Zarahemla at the time. Now, we're going to read a little bit about what happened with Alma's group. So we are now going to turn to chapter 23, and we're going to read the first 24 verses. We're not going to read the whole chapter, just the first 24 verses. Alma refuses to be king. He serves as high priest. The Lord chastens his people, and the Lamanites conquer the land of Helam. Amulon, leader of King Noah's wicked priests, rules subject to the Lamanite monarch. Now Alma, having been warned of the Lord that the armies of King Noah would come upon them, and having made it known to his people, therefore they gathered together their flocks, and took of their grain, and departed into the wilderness before the armies of King Noah. And the Lord did strengthen them, that the people of King Noah could not overtake them to destroy them. And they fled 8 days' journey into the wilderness. And they came to a land, yea, even a very beautiful and pleasant land, a land of pure water. And they pitched their tents, and began to till the ground, and began to build buildings, yea, they were industrious, and did labor exceedingly. And the people were desirous that Alma should be their king, for he was beloved by this people. But he said unto them, Behold, it is not expedient that we should have a king, for thus saith the Lord, Ye shall not esteem one flesh above another, nor one man shall not think himself above another. Therefore I say unto you, it is not expedient that ye should have a king. Nevertheless, if it were possible that ye could always have just men to be your kings, it would be well for you to have a king. But remember the iniquity of King Noah and his priests. And I myself was caught in a snare, and did many things which were abominable in the sight of the Lord, which caused me sore repentance. Nevertheless, after much tribulation, the Lord did hear my cries, and did answer my prayers, and has made me an instrument in his hands, in bringing so many of you to a knowledge of his truth. Nevertheless, in this I do not glory, for I am unworthy to glory of myself. And now I say unto you, Ye have been oppressed by King Noah, and have been in bondage to him and his priests, and have been brought into iniquity by them. Therefore ye were bound with the bands of iniquity. And now, as ye have been delivered by the power of God out of these bonds, yea, even out of the hands of King Noah and his people, and also from the bonds of iniquity, even so I desire that ye should stand fast in this liberty wherewith ye have been made free, and that ye trust no man to be a king over you. And also trust no one to be your teacher, nor your minister, except he be a man of God, walking in his ways and keeping his commandments. Thus did Alma teach his people, that every man should love his neighbor as himself, that there should be no contention among them. And now Alma was their high priest, he being the founder of their church. And it came to pass that none received authority to preach or to teach, except it were by him from God. Therefore he consecrated all their priests and all their teachers, and none were consecrated except they were just men. Therefore they did watch over the people, and did nourish them with things pertaining to righteousness. And it came to pass that they began to prosper exceedingly in the land, and they called the land Helam. And it came to pass that they did multiply and prosper exceedingly in the land of Helam, and they built a city, which they called the City of Helam. Nevertheless the Lord seeth fit to chasten his people, yea, he trieth their patience and their faith. Nevertheless, whosoever putteth his trust in him, the same shall be lifted up at the last day. Yea, and thus it was with this people. For behold, I will show unto you that they were brought into bondage, and none could deliver them but the Lord their God, yea, even the God of Abraham, and Isaac, and of Jacob. And it came to pass that he did deliver them, and he did show forth his mighty power unto them, and great were their rejoicings. A couple of things to note here. First of all, this tells us that it was God that warned them. I mentioned in my reading of chapter 19 that they were in their meeting, their Sunday meeting. They were out in their tents. They were enjoying the day, and the army came and they fled from the army. This gives us a little more information, though. It's not that they were out enjoying the day. They were, I do believe that it was their Sunday meeting, their usual meeting time. But Alma had been warned ahead of time, and he told the people, bring all your stuff with you, because this time we're not going back. And so they gathered all their stuff together. They met up together as a body, and with the army of Noah coming out after them, they fled into the wilderness. So that gives us a little bit more information on that. There's also, I like, of course, like most great prophets, he doesn't want to be king. But I like his reasonings here, and this is something that's always intrigued me, where it says here, if it were possible that you could always have just men to be your kings, it would be well for you to have a king. In other words, monarchy is actually the best form of government, if you can guarantee that the king is always a righteous man. Mosiah will say this again in more detail, more words later on. He'll make the same declaration. Having a king is a great thing if the king is righteous. But remember King Noah, remember all the other wicked kings throughout the history of Israel. Because you can't guarantee a righteous king, then a republic is the best way of safeguarding your liberty. But if you had a good king, then that is the best government. That is why heaven is not a democracy. It's not a republic. It is a kingdom. And God is the king, because he is always going to be a great king. Now, Alma and his people are clearly here in Helam for a while. It says they built a city. You don't build a city in a summer. It takes a number of years to build up a city. And if you look in the footnotes, they're here. They get here, around the year 145 BC, and they don't join Zarahemla until 121, so they're here for 23 years. Yeah, they could build up a city in that time. It is also interesting that they name the city Helam, Helam being the first man that Alma baptized. But we leave that here. We continue in Mosiah for a while. We're going to keep reading until we finish it, but we are going to be jumping around a lot now, so I will see you in the future.